is here.
We will definitely not shut up and dribble.
The champ is here. Our first team of ladies. The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
All right, man.
Yes, welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with we. My name is EJ, and I got my man.
MH.
Yes, he is the DB of the show. We are Black in Sports, giving a voice to the culture that won't shut up and dribble. Here interviewing the best professionals in the game and in the boardroom. And you know what, man? We're laughing at it all, covering it all while providing a platform to be heard. So you know what we do right about now. We jump into it. We have to introduce and give a warm welcome to our guests, right? So I guess Ricky Bobby said it first, right? If you're not first, you're last, right? And this lady is definitely first to be the first Black woman to hold this title, all right? Definitely won't be the last. She's the second woman to hold her position, and she's kind of a big deal in the Arizona market. So if you haven't heard, in 2021, I believe it was, she was the most influential woman in AZ, okay, holding it down. And then just many other awards like most outstanding woman in ward, all right? So please clap it up, all right, for the president, Madam President of the Phoenix Raceway. All right, let's clap it up. Hey, Latasha Causey, thank you so much for joining us today. And how we start, man, we always put our guests on we get it going, right? We make sure your engine's ready to go. Give us a shoot your shot moment, okay? And it can't be that I always shoot my shot. Or we can't have that. Here at Black in Sports, we got to have just a time you shot your shot. And it could have been any time, right? It could have been early in your work, career, school, life, all of that good stuff. Love life, how you met, Miss Cause, you know what I mean? All of that's good stuff. So give us a shoot your shot moment.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for having me. I will have to say my shoot your shot has to be right now. I am in this role as the, first Black woman to be in a position of a track president. But guys, honestly, I've never been in sports. I transitioned. I came in and went straight to the top. And so this has to be my shoot your shot moment. It was really someone else. I mean, it's been a long time since I've applied for a job or applied for an opportunity. Really, it's, my networks, the woman who was in the role before me, she is the one who reached out to me about the opportunity. She saw something in me. And felt like, hey, you are the right person for this role right here and right now. And I'm not kidding, guys. For a second, I was like, for real? Me? Are you sure? Can I do that? And the answer is yes. I'm really excited that I took this opportunity on last November. And I've been shooting my shot since then. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity.
Let's go.
So, Latasha, where your love for leadership in sports start? Where did that start?
Yeah, well, we are a sports family. So my dad played sports long before I was born, but my brother played sports in college. He played in the NFL as well. And then as well, I have a niece who currently is at the University of Oregon running track. I have two boys. I have a 12 and a 16-year-old. My 16-year-old has been playing club baseball since he was 10. We're just like a sports family. When it was COVID, I love to go to sporting events. I mean, I would go to any sporting event. Love all of it. I mean, you name it, I would like to go. But I will tell you, we watch sports. If we're not watching the news in our household, then we're watching sports. And so during COVID, we couldn't do sports, right? You couldn't watch sports. So we started watching the bags games. That was the only thing on TV. They could wear masks and then they could play. So it was a whole championship, a cornhole championship going on during COVID. And so, it was the fathers and the sons rolling around. So we our whole family started watching cornhole during that. That's how much we love sports. We didn't have anything to do with ourselves and started watching the cornhole championship. It was pretty legit.
Nice. Shout out to AJ, who's we had on the show, who's one of the top cornhole guys. So no, that's definitely dope.
It's pretty dope. And now I watch it.
As we need to catch up with him. Hopefully he'll be in a championship here soon in town. So following a lot of the sports, right? What would you say maybe was a favorite sport? Did you have a favorite, or I know you like all sports, but was there a favorite kind of either growing up or now?
Yeah, I love football. So here's the thing about it. I'm born and raised in Arizona, Phoenix native. The unique thing about Arizona is that we have all professional sports teams here. We have the D-backs, you have the Cardinals that are here. You have the Suns that are here. We even have the Coyotes that are out here as well. So, I mean, you really have the gamut of any sports and sports venue, but I am a football fan or just football family. I love the Cardinals. But I also just love like individual players. So I love to watch the Cardinals, love to go to Cardinals games. But then when I think about like other athletes and other professional athletes, I just love to follow the stories. I'm like the person that watches Hard Knocks. The person, we just had the Earl Spence fight as well, but they had the whole Showtime leading up to the show. And so I love to watch that kind of stuff because I love to hear the story, like what it took to get there and to get to that point. And then, you obviously have your person that you're rooting for, and you just like think through like all the things that they went through to get to that point. So diehard football fan, but I just love the stories and behind the athletes.
No, I'll definitely like that. And so with that, you're in a market. One of the teams that's in that market really had a long bout in a story, right? So how was the energy with BG, kind of following that and just how it touched, because you're actually in that market, and before you got into sports, you did a lot of things with the community. So like, how was the community, around that, and just kind of give us a little bit like, following that story.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely glad that she is home. And so, going to Suns games and Mercury games during that time, I mean, it was just like something missing. Obviously, she was hugely missing while she wasn't here by me. Everyone walking around just collectively in BG jerseys. We are BG all over the city. Like you said, I mean, it was everywhere, banners everywhere, people using their voice and all of those types of things. And so it was really a sad thing, but it was also really nice to see people actually come together and support collectively. Like if you weren't per se going to Mercury games or you weren't a Mercury fan, you took a moment to recognize the fact that you wanted BG to be home. And so, every Suns game that I went to during that time, I mean, 42 was on the court, everything, right, was about BG. Like, you would know that, her presence was missing. So, and people were talking about it, which was a good thing.
So west side of the valley, tell me a little bit about what that means and what that means to you, and a little bit about growing up there.
Yeah, so my parents still live in the same house I was born and raised in here in Phoenix, Arizona. The Phoenix Raceway is actually in the West Valley. I'm not far from where my parents lived. It's in the city of Avondale. But growing up in the West Valley, I mean, it's not, we've gone through like a revitalization recently. I mean, it's, part of it is a low to moderate income where my parents live. Like there's pockets of LMI communities all over it, all around it. But honestly, as I was growing up, like I didn't really know what like low to moderate income meant. Like I don't really feel like both of my parents worked. My dad worked for UPS for I like to say 100 years, but like 30 years. My mom, still present day, my mom still likes to go to work to keep her busy. I'm like, whatever it takes to keep you going, girl, you do that. But my mom is a paralegal and she still goes into the law. So my parents have always worked. But they've worked really hard to make sure that they provide for us. And honestly, as I was growing up, I just really didn't know that there was like more outside of Arizona, right? When people think about Arizona, you think about Scottsdale and like the fancy places. Not until I went to college, until I went to ASU, did I really know, like, dang, like it's like a lot of things outside of the West Side. When you're young and you just don't know, and you go to your family's homes, you do all those things, and I felt the love. I felt like I don't feel like I missed out on anything. But I definitely grew up in the West Valley. My parents still, like I said, live in the same house that I was born and raised in. So for me, you talked a little bit about community and giving back to the community. That's why I do what I do. I just came from a community where everybody just collectively came together and helped each other, went to church every Sunday. And that was just part of what we did. And part of that was it was required that you give back and that you volunteer and that you do those types of things. So it's just stuck with me my whole life. And now I've been fortunate and blessed enough to be able to do it on a bigger platform.
Yeah, I had a brother that lived in Arizona, in the Phoenix area for a while. And now that we're both in Las Vegas, EJ and I always hear that that area is similar to Las Vegas. And yeah. It's funny that you said that about growing up, because I feel like a lot of times when I'm in the community here, there are some youth that all the things that's come. I know you guys have had multiple Super Bowls and obviously things that are coming into Vegas right now, and that almost being two different worlds. I know we'll get more into this as we get into your career, but how you go about connecting those two a little bit?
Yeah. Well, and I will tell you, I am very familiar with Las Vegas. So my husband is from Las Vegas. We met in college. Actually, just came back from Vegas last weekend. We should have talked about it so I can meet you guys in person. We're always there. So he grew up in North Las Vegas. While he did go to Bishop Gorman, his parents also still live in the same house. That he was born and raised in as well. So anyway, connecting the two of those things, right, in regards to community and just all the things. I mean, I just feel like for me personally, I don't know if it's just my innate who I am and how I'm built. There is no Latasha Causey without community. There is no business without community. And all of the things that I do, I always have that in my mind, and I do everything in my power to make sure that my kids do that too, right? Whether they want to or not, right? Because they just don't know. They will do that now while they're under our household and our roof. They will just know that, you part of who you are is just doing something for someone else.
Absolutely. So, born, raised, AZ all the way. So talk to us about like how the college decision was had, right? Like, when we talk, a lot of people, sports drives that. So what drove you to stay there? Because some kids like, I just wanted to get away. And you said you learned. So how did the process go for you choosing ASU?
Yeah. So this is what happened choosing ASU. So when I was in high school, so again, going to the, if you will, low to moderate income high school, I was part of the Urban League. And part of DECA. So I was part of Urban League and DECA. And also I played in the band. So I played in the band from the 4th grade all the way to my senior year of high school. I played the flute. And so I was part of yeah, shoot, I was the coolest person out there. That's why my network is so strong, right? I mean, I had the band nerds as my homies. I mean, I had everybody. You name it, they were my friends. When I was 16, though, a part of DECA and part of the Urban League, they were going to select 4 kids to go work at a company, organization, and it was Charles Schwab. So they selected 4 students. I was one of the 4 students that was selected. And you guys, honestly, I wanted to work. I wanted this little part-time job because I wanted to get fake fingernails. Like my mom and my dad were like, we're not paying for that. Like we'll pay for other things, but we're not paying for the fake fingernails. I was like, well, I'm getting a job, right? Like I got to get my nails done. So I was selected to be able to work at Schwab. And so 3 of the other people were going to be stockbrokers. And then 1 was going to be in people services. I'm like, well, I know I don't want to be a stockbroker because that just sounds wrong, but people services, that sounds right. I'm 16. I didn't know what that was. Well, it was human resources. And so that's how I started my career. I worked at Schwab from the time I was 16 until I graduated from ASU. So that is how I made the decision. So I'd never had a decision whether I was going to go to college or not. Like that wasn't an option with my parents. So we went on the little college tours, right? So we went to U of A. We drove down to U of A, and then we went to ASU and we went to NAU. And I was like, well, if I go to U of A or NAU, I can't have my job, right? I'm like rolling back. I'm making $6.50 an hour, right? Like, so I am rich.
Killing them.
Like, I mean, I can't give this up. I'm making $6.50 an hour. So I had to stay. And so that is how I selected going to ASU because I could go to school full time and work full time. And
keep them nails.
I had to get my nails done. And then by the time I was 18, because of FINRA rules and laws, that's when I could become an actual Charles Schwab employee. I became a Charles Schwab employee, and you guys, I was making $10 an hour at like 18 years old. I mean, I was rich. So that's how I ended up staying here. And staying here, honestly, working full time, going to school full time was the best thing that ever happened to me. Schwab taught me how to manage money, legit get into real estate, those types of things at a very young age. So, I mean, I am so glad, like I wanted fake fingernails.
So that's the secret, because I know a lot of people that went to ASU. Yeah. I don't know a lot of people that finished at ASU. Had too much fun. That's why it's a secret.
Yeah, but I stayed at home though too. So I didn't live on campus. I did stay at home, but I did meet my husband sophomore year. So I got the full college experience through him and his roommates. But I was like, but I gotta go home, right? Because if I don't go home, I might not make it. So I did stay at home.
You had them parameters around you, boy, because like, hey, she was no joke. Y'all were you and what was it? OU battle top from top party schools, boy. So
hey, it is possible to make it at ASU. Okay, it is
there it is.
possible.
That story.
All right. So want to jump into your career because, definitely on the sporting side. And I know a lot of the passions and things that you've done before. So thank you about this, the Charles Schwab, right? Because that was a foundation that, elevate you. And what we love about this show is it's not always natural journeys. So thank you for being open with that. And while we're going to focus mainly on, your current role, definitely the community things that you've done, being in like that HR background and just like development and the different companies all built for who you are today. But of course, today, we want to focus on, your career now, being Madam President. Let's go. That's so fire. So, give us the Reader's Digest version of how this came to be.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Well, like I said, really it was through Julie Giese, who is the previous track president here. She moved to Arizona from Daytona, been a NASCAR employee for over 20 years, but came to be the track president here. She and I were on a panel together. She was here for about 4 days. We were on a panel together. The person that was leading that panel reached out to me ahead of time and said, hey, there's a woman running the track. She was the first woman to lead Phoenix Raceway. He's like, there's a woman running the track. She needs to be around really great women and needs community connections because she hasn't been, she's not from here. And she's really trying to do some great things at Phoenix Raceway. And you're a community person. And I said, listen, as long as she's a good person, happy to help her. And so she's a phenomenal person. And again, day 4 into her 4 years here, I just started helping Julie make connections, building relationships with her. And during that time, Julie was like, you know what, you got to come to a NASCAR race. And guys, I had never been to a NASCAR race before 4 years ago. I was like, for real? Like, I mean, it sounds right, but I'm not really sure. So, and I made my husband go too. So I was like, maybe it probably would just be the two of us, right? And so we go to this event. It was not just the two of us, for the record. It was like an experience I had never experienced before. Never in my life. I mean, there were so many amazing things going on. I'm a NASCAR. There's nothing like a NASCAR experience, truly. And Julie gave me that VIP experience, and I just built a relationship with her for those 4 years. You guys may have heard about this, but Julie left Arizona to go run the Chicago street race. So she gave me a phone call and said, hey, what do you think about running, Phoenix Raceway when I go move to Chicago? And as I said earlier, I was like, what? Like, are you sure? Like, don't forget I'm Black, right? And right? I just had to. I was just like, and she.
Let me remind you.
Yeah, I might be light skinned. Don't let me fool you. I'm Black on both sides. So, I was just. But really, the direction that, NASCAR is going, it wasn't because I was Black that she was looking, for me to be the person in this role. It was because of all the things that I have done, that I have worked for, to get to this point. And so I really am. I had a lot of conversations, internally with NASCAR leadership, president, Billy, NASCAR
circle,
everybody,
the family,
everybody, just to truly understand, where has NASCAR been and where is NASCAR going? And I asked some really difficult questions, but everyone was 100% transparent with me from the jump in every conversation. And it felt right. And, it was honestly my husband that pushed me to at least, open the door. Cause for a few minutes, I was like, I don't know if that's the right opportunity for me. And truly, I am really, really glad. I know it is the right opportunity, and I'm really glad that I took a moment just to take a moment. That's us getting out of our comfort zone. I was really comfortable and in a great role, and been doing really good things in the community. And so I didn't really think I needed this opportunity.
Speaking of, just comfort zone is exactly where I was at with this. When I was telling my dad I was prepping for this interview, he was like, NASCAR? Like, he just, and my dad is well versed in sports. So I know that was probably some of the reaction from your family and friends and all across. And as a pioneer, how do you kind of hold that weight, I guess, if you want to call it weight, or that responsibility on your shoulders?
Yeah, people ask all the time, and honestly, not just like Black people, right? I mean, people like our family members, everybody's like, oh my God, that is so cool. It's more the Madam President part of things, but then when they really take a moment, I had my first race in March. One of the things that I did, you know us as Black people, right? We want to support each other. So everybody wants to come to your race. They want to be here. They want to be here for you. So of course, my family was here. I had friends. I had what I call Suite 33, which was a suite full of Black and brown people that just had never been to the race before. It was a vibe, right? When I went in there, I was like, I don't want to leave here because this is where we are. And so, but it was just a really, really great experience. But it's really about education, making sure that people understand what NASCAR is and opening the door up to them to say, hey, give it a chance. Like I said earlier, I would go to any sporting event. That's why I went to my first NASCAR race 4 years ago. And so it's really about making sure that people know it will be an experience that you've never had before. And so, yeah, I don't necessarily see it as anything that I'm combating or have to defend, because I'm 100% comfortable with the decision and really living in the dream of being able to do this role. But I will tell you, on all sides, even like women, we're hard on each other, right? But other women are like, oh, what are you thinking? Like, who does that? Like, especially if they don't know that I'm a diehard sports person. Most people know that about me, but if you don't, then they're like, really, NASCAR? Like, that's weird. I'm like, is it? You haven't gone. And again, that's any color. It's just like women in general. Sometimes I'll get that. So
yeah, definitely. Like you said, women in sports, right? Like that's a mountain in itself, right? So then put, Black women in sports, and then add the sport is NASCAR. So you put on those layers. So there has been other people, when you think about the historical context, right? Like, you're a part of history, which is just amazing. There have been others that have been paving the way. And I know we attempt to post and talk about other than, football, of course, basketball are the easy lanes for us. But like Wendell Scott, you know what I mean? Like, after you got into it, did you start like doing the research, or did they bring the research to, like, how do you educate yourself, and how does like NASCAR in general embrace the culture and talk about those things?
yes, absolutely. So, one of the first things I had to do is get out there. I had to go on a tour, if you will, of NASCAR. And really what that meant, my first quarter of being at NASCAR, I think I might have been home for a whole week collectively together, because we have a race every weekend. So I was really out there building relationships, really understanding the sport. We're in North Carolina. Most of the teams are in North Carolina. So I went to North Carolina for a whole week, went to visit various like Trackhouse, Hendrick Motorsports, various sporting teams, really getting to know and understand the sport. I mean, and what it takes in order to get out there and race every weekend. And so that really has been my thing. And I will tell you, though, the people of NASCAR, both on the NASCAR side, the team side, I mean, it is like a family. And we are all out there. You see the same people. So no matter where you're going, right? If I'm going out to Sonoma, or if I'm going to Vegas, right, wherever I'm going, you're going to see the same people and the same teams. So you get really familiar with each other, and you want to help each other. So when I come out and they're like, there's Phoenix, right? They know that we're there and that we're present. But one of the other things is getting your hands dirty, meaning that you go out there and you work. So even though I was brand new, I mean, we had one of the first races that we had was the Clash in LA. I went out there, I'm like, put me to work. Let me know. Like, I'm not out here as Latasha Causey, the president of Phoenix Raceway.
Wait a minute.
Do something.
You out there turning wrenches? You're the pit crew.
Now that's for a professional, okay? You got to make sure that the tires stay on. But there's so many other things that go into putting on an event, right? And being part of the sport. So I go and I volunteer my time, if you will. I work to make sure that whoever worked really hard to put on that event, that they have a helping hand. And NASCAR does that really, really well.
That's awesome.
How do you blend all those different backgrounds? Because, we all in sports business, it could be range from somebody from Phoenix in the Valley, somebody from across the country, some that's just here in Phoenix for the Phoenix race, or it could be a lifelong NASCAR fan that's working. And how do you kind of blend all those personalities and backgrounds as you lead the team?
Yes, that is a great question, because like for our November race, which we host championship here in Arizona, and 60% of the fans that come in November are not from Arizona, right? So they come from all over the place, coming from everywhere. So like you said, you have to get out there, talk to fans, get to know people and understand, like, why are you here? What makes you come here? NASCAR has die-hard fans. And so some of the things that we do is we make sure that we talk to our fans. What do you want? What do you want to see? What will keep you here? Our fans come the Monday before a race if they're staying and they're camping with us, and they leave Monday after. So they're out here for 7 days. So you want to make sure that you are out here making sure that everyone is having a good time. But then you also have fans that are just coming for the weekend. So there's so many variations. And so really, I'm really fortunate. I have a great team in Arizona. I like to say we have the best team here in Arizona. I might be biased, but we have a really good team who knows how to get the experience done. And like I said earlier, it's really about going out to other events and other experiences to see what we can bring to our fans. So that's really what we do. I'm out there, like during the week, I'm out there with the fans. I want to talk, because you cannot make everybody happy, and they do complain. But I listen to it. I want to hear about it. I can't guarantee I'm going to change it, but I want to hear because they are so loyal and they are diehard.
So, with that, like bringing the fans, give us an experience, right? Like, because what does NASCAR, do for us? Like you're pitching us, we're newbies, first time going there, right? Like, and like we go in with our preconceived notion, right? Like, not going to be many of us, right? You even said that in your opening, right? Not many of us. And I mean, I even think about like Vegas, right? Like from a Vegas standpoint, we are always telling people that there's multiple Vegas, right? You could come and spy it all day, right? We got so many restaurants, we got the nightlife, and now we're, foray into a bigger footprint in sports. So what can one experience, you know what I mean? Especially from the culture when they're kind of going to the raceway.
Yeah. Well, here specifically, it's Arizona, right? So specifically when you are in Arizona, you have to, you're in a space. Oh, excuse me, really quick. I'm on a call here. Yeah. So sorry about that, guys.
There's team out there. We got
that's the team out there making sure
making sure everything is good. Making sure everything is good out here. So, one of the things that I would say here in Arizona that I would pitch on you is that, like I said earlier, that you have every sport and you have so many things that you can do out here in Arizona. So if you wanted to come to the race just for the weekend, you could do that. But if you wanted to expand it outside the weekend, when we're here in March, we're also here during spring training. Remember, we have all spring training here in Arizona. So you can catch a baseball game from any team, any of your favorite teams. That you could catch, here in Arizona. So, you could do that, or you could just experience what's happening here in the market. And so that's what I would say is probably different here. The other thing about NASCAR is it's unique in the sense that, you go to a football game, you go to a basketball game. Let's say not everybody has the opportunity to sit courtside at a basketball game, but if you do, you don't have the ability to talk or, hey, I'm not going to be able to give Devin Booker a high five, right? Security will be there in about 8 seconds, making sure that you don't do that. You're there to experience watching the game. Well, at NASCAR, we have our garages, we have everything right there. And our drivers are there. So like our garages are there with their pit crews, with the driver, they interact and they engage with our fan base. So if you are truly a NASCAR fan and a driver fan, you're going to see them right here out wandering around like everyone else. And so I feel like that's a very, very unique experience, especially when you're following around a driver.
And then you said you grew up really close to the racetrack, right? If I remember correctly. So how do you bring the community to the racetrack? What's some of your strategies there?
Yes. So there's so many things. So when I got on the call earlier, I said, I just got back from a tour at the track. That's the thing, since I have started here, people are like, dang, I forgot Phoenix Raceway was there, that it was out there because I am such a community leader. I am somebody that is out there. And they're like, once I go there again, we like to support each other. So like, I want to come, I want to check it out. I want to see what it has to offer. And it is opening up my home, which is Phoenix Raceway, to the community. So I've been giving tours to individuals who've never been here before, and they are just in awe of like what the raceway is and what it can do. We have over 600 acres here at our raceway. So it's nothing small, right? I mean, it's a venue that operates over 200 days per year. We have almost 200 events here at the Raceway outside of our 2 NASCAR events. So it is a venue. And so that's one of the things that I want to make sure that I do, is make sure that the community knows that we are a staple here in the community, and our house is your house. The other thing is making sure that kids, so I don't want little black and brown kids to be like me, where they don't go to the Raceway until they're an adult. I want to open that up now. We have a donor advised fund here, meaning that we can give money back to nonprofit organizations, but we could also set up strategic initiatives and do things that we could do to set up well into the future. So just in my short time here, I created a partnership with a local high school where we created a motorsports curriculum. We brought kids out as a field trip. We will do about 8 of those field trips per year. Our first one that we did in May, there's 50 kids that came. 49 of them had never been to the Raceway. 49 of them were kids of color. And they were just like, oh my God. And so they were able to open up and see like what's possible. You could be a track president. You could be someone that drives a car. You could be someone that is at a sports venue. So, you know, my strategy really is opening it up to the community and doing our part with that.
That's amazing. So with that, like, it's that visibility, right? It's really exposing people to things, right? Like, you don't know about it unless you have some type of exposure, right? That's what we kind of say at the end of the show is, you know, visual representation matters, and showing the story. How has NASCAR, because like, you know, doing our research, this is the 75th year of NASCAR, right? So it's an anniversary, a big anniversary, I should say. And, you know, you're talking about that there's still some of these firsts that's going on, although they've been working on diversity and inclusion, like I've heard you say and other people say, for over 20 years. And you actually come out of a program that, you know, they kind of put together and sponsor. Can you talk a little bit about that program and like, obviously what it's done for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't personally come out of the drive. It's called Drive for Diversity.
Okay,
So
that's the Drive for Diversity. Got you.
Yep. So the Drive for Diversity program is a program that has been around for over 20 years that helps with our drivers, but also helps internally with our employees as well. So it helps us with hiring as well, individuals of color. And it's something that NASCAR has been doing for a long time. I think you know, people don't know that, you know, NASCAR has been doing that. And it wasn't, I think a lot of people think that, okay, well, when NASCAR got rid of like the Confederate flag in 2020, then that's when NASCAR opened up diversity. You know, NASCAR has been diverse for a very long time. And I think that if people, when I came here and came to my first race, I didn't know the amount of like people of color that are on pit crews. Majority of them are people of color. Most of them are Black, and most of them have played a sport. I think probably 99% of them have come from some sort of athletic background, some in professional and some collegiate.
Now they have that program for that as well, right? Like
that's exactly right.
There's what is that one called? It's like the pick combine or something like that they have?
It is, but that's all part of Drive for Diversity. But yes,
really?
So Drive for Diversity is all encompassing of all of those things, variations of where you want to be within the organization or within the crew. And so, yes, each pit crew has like a combine. They have a whole day. I mean, when you guys have an opportunity, if you ever have the opportunity, that in itself is a sport. Being able to watch them prepare for what they do on a weekend basis, it's amazing.
So, since you had to figure it out, I hope you understand this reference. Do you remember back in the day when everybody was wearing those NASCAR coats? Because I used to always wear them Oreo ones. So the first day on the job, did you bring back out that M&M coat that we had in middle school?
Look, I haven't even got my custom coat yet, but I'm working on it. I am working on it. Like in my emojis now, I use a ton of checkered flags. Like I didn't do that before. Like I'm ready. I wear a fanny pack when I'm out, you know. Don't do that. Don't do that unless you've been out here. I love everything about. Like I'm the queen of fanny pack right now. You couldn't have told me I was going to do that before November, but it's real. So there's so many things that are part of the culture that are just like super cool. Yeah. Even the fanny pack.
Yeah, that's awesome. So as far as diversity, right? You know, you're seeing the diversity, you know, in the front office. They're working on that. There's a lot of people like that are just in all different levels, right? Like, you know, Eric Mosley, I think I just met a couple of years ago, right? Moses, excuse me, I met a couple of years ago. That's like, you know, in the top, and he was one of the first at the Nash. That was in Nashville. Yeah.
Yep. So Eric Moses actually he is in Arizona now and runs the Fiesta Bowl. So Eric Moses is a big deal. Out here doing big things in Arizona. He just had his Fiesta Bowl luncheon yesterday, and Eric Moses is doing some really great things.
So how is that? Are you bringing those different sports worlds together, right? Like, are you getting the support from like an Eric Moses or even like a Larry Fitzgerald, right? Who's an ambassador of Arizona, right? Like when we had the Super Bowl there last year, he was involved in a lot of things Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So how is that going?
Yes, that's actually going really great. So, because I have been here for so long and because of my experience in my other roles, the relationships that I already had with the other teams just have carried over. Certainly partnering, collectively. So I have my big luncheon that's coming up next week. Every single one of them will be there. The Cardinals will be there. The Phoenix Suns will be there. The Coyotes will be there, and the D-backs will be there. They have all supported me, and they will all be there from a leadership perspective. We also are doing some collaborations. We actually have D-backs night coming up here in a couple of weeks. D-backs NASCAR night. So NASCAR will be out there at the D-backs. I refused to throw out the first pitch. I did that during spring training, but the pressure is too much. But I will be there. I will be out there, and so those are the things that are honestly that I have been the most grateful for. I mean, that's one of the things that we will be doing here in Phoenix Raceway. You'll see that probably before the end of the year, a couple collabs coming up. So like I said, the D-backs night is coming up in a few weeks. D-backs NASCAR.
Okay, getting my fan question out of the way. MJ, I know he's been a big pioneer, or he has a lot of influence now in NASCAR. How have you met him?
Yes.
What do you think his role is in the future of NASCAR moving forward?
Yeah, 100%. I have met him a few times. MJ is he's like MJ, right? He is the GOAT. But when he is out here at NASCAR, he's like, just MJ out here, owner of a sports team, just acting like he's like a regular person like the rest of us. And everybody is like, it's MJ. But he is definitely into the sport. His team, 2311 team, they do amazing work. I just met with, I think they are the only NASCAR, or if you will, only sports team within NASCAR that has a diversity officer. So Craig Robinson is the chief diversity officer there, or director of diversity for 2311. And so that is all part of their leadership, right? Whether it's MJ, whether it's Denny that owns the team as well, they have they're intentional. Obviously, Bubba races for them as well, and so. They're very intentional about what they're doing from a diversity perspective. So MJ is hands-on. He's out there. I have seen him at multiple events across the union. I saw him at the Daytona 500. And he's very personable. I mean, he's super, when I saw him at the Daytona 500, he's very congratulatory of me and my role, just proud. And he loves the sport.
And we have mentioned, Brad Daugherty was one of the OGs as a basketball player in the game. So, yes. He's out there too. And just, it's so funny. Like I saw a special, driving was actually his first love.
Yeah.
And he just said he did basketball because he could. So it's good to see them out there, just shining a light and exposing other people to it.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I mean, and we have so many professional athletes that roll around. When I went to Sonoma this year, Marshawn Lynch was there. And I asked Marshawn, I'm like, have you been here before? He's like, yes. So, I mean, you just don't even know. Yeah, so he was out there. I mean, there have been so many professional athletes that have, I love football, so I usually call out the football players, but there have been so many others that are not just in football that have been out to the races across the board. You will see them, and they're interested and they're into it.
Got you. So kind of going on just like the development and exposure, right? So I think early on we talked about you said you watched the Hard Knocks and, there's Netflix specials and things like that. Only thing that I've really ever seen from the NASCAR was like the story on Bubba that they did a couple of, maybe it's a year ago or something like that. What are they doing around NASCAR that you know of or would probably like to see that would just kind of help the sport? Because, a lot of times, it's seeing those specials that like put a different perspective on those things that, can endear newer fans or just kind of highlight the sport in general.
Yep, that's exactly right. So that was the step, I think, in moving towards that direction. NASCAR, I think one of the things that we have a great story to tell, but we don't tell it, right? Like I just mentioned, people that are here and that are out here. And I think that, those are some of the things that we are working on. I think you will see more in terms of Netflix specials and, NASCAR really telling the story. Eric Ryan is someone who runs our communications here at NASCAR. Eric Ryan has been here for a couple of years at NASCAR, and he's very intentional, very purposeful about telling the story, the holistic story about NASCAR, to make sure that other cultures know that they're invited, and make sure that we appreciate our diehard fan base at the same time, and making sure that you just tell, like I said, we just haven't been telling the story of NASCAR. Like I just told you about pit crews, but that's something that you should already know, honestly, because they're just such a dynamic part of the sport, and such an important part of the sport.
I feel like another big part of the sport that I first noticed was partnerships with NASCAR, and how many of those things. So can you talk a little bit about navigating that part of the game? Sorry, EJ, I know that was one of your questions. You the partnership guy. I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm glad you asked. That is definitely one of the questions.
Yes. Well, the whole, when I mentioned Drive for Diversity, one of the things, or if you will, barriers for drivers is that it's sponsorship, right? You have to have, it's expensive. It's not cheap. It's like, most sports are you have to put an investment into it, monetary investment into it. And if not for our sponsors, some people wouldn't be able to race, or most people wouldn't be able to race. And then for us, from a track perspective, we thoroughly appreciate our sponsors. When we have major sponsors like Coca-Cola, right? One of our main sponsors here at Phoenix Raceway. You have Ally, which is a financial institution that is collectively across the board for NASCAR. So I think in terms of sponsorships, one of the things that NASCAR does really well, we have a great team, great corporate sales team and partnership management team that manages those relationships, is making sure, even though the tracks, like I have an Arizona track, there's a Las Vegas track, we make sure that when we talk partnership, it's collective. So anything that we can do to have massive partnerships, it's what we do. Like for us here in Arizona, I talked to you guys a little bit about our campers. One of the things that's really important for our campers is making sure they have a store. So we partnered with Walmart. So we did that. We just launched that, and our team did a great job of launching that in March. And it was successful, and we're going to continue to do it. But so now Walmart's everywhere. So how do we do that in other areas and other markets as well? So we make sure that we do what we can in terms of sponsorships, but we wouldn't be able to do all of the great things if we didn't have sponsors, within any of our tracks.
So you see in the future with the younger drivers as well, from the culture? I believe, and I missed your panel, by the way, because you were at the Black Sports Business Symposium, but y'all whole crew showed up and showed out, by the way. Y'all were out there. But I got to see the panel who's the communications guy you just mentioned?
Eric Ryan.
Yes, he was the moderator, and I think Bubba, and what's the young guy? Is it
Roger Carew?
Yep, Roz was on there, and it's just great to hear that. Like, how are they doing with the pressure, and because every time we get into certain things where we're the first, it is that pressure. But what are they doing? How are they getting supported by the other drivers? Are you seeing kind of that growth for the younger drivers?
Yeah, well, I think, they would have to answer it much better than I could, but I would say, I think one of the things that we all do is we try to support each other, especially the young drivers. When I mentioned partnering with our school here in Arizona, Raja came out to Arizona during Super Bowl. So Raja came out, and there's also another young driver named LeVar Scott. So Raja and LeVar came out to the school, and when those kids were able to see kids of color, that were essentially their age, they were like, what? We didn't even know this was a thing, or that we could do this, or that this was possible. So I think even for them supporting them that way, them being able to tell their story and be able to get on platforms and let people know that they are here and that they are up and coming, I think it's just a major thing. And even for Raja, we'll be doing an event in Miami in our October race. I'm going to go out there, make sure I support Raja, make sure we bring people there to be able to do meet and greets with him. And so I think collectively it is about everyone coming together to be able to support these individuals in the best way that you can. Obviously, when it comes directly to racing, sponsorships, all that kind of stuff, that's totally separate. It's really about the person, being able to support them as a person, and showing them and making connections for them where you can. And so that's really how I have been able to support just in my short time. And I see that across NASCAR as well. Like you said, Eric Ryan was doing the panel with them. And so we make sure that we build relationships with all drivers so that we understand, because, outside of racing, they also have other things that are important to them. And so we want to make sure that we know you got to get to know them personally. What is important to you, and how do we support you when you come to my track 2 times per year? What is it that I can do?
Absolutely. MH, ready for those quick hits?
Yes, sir. So, Sasha, just some quick kind of get to know you questions for our listeners. So, breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
Lunch all day.
What is your favorite meal?
I mean, I'm from Arizona, so I love Mexican food. I can eat a taco all day, any kind of taco.
Favorite drink, if you would. It doesn't have to be alcoholic drink, but just favorite drink.
Look, I live in Arizona, so water on the rocks works really good for me.
Okay. Favorite music artist?
Oh, dang! I knew you would ask me something like that. I love music, so I'm a huge Erykah Badu fan. I love Erykah Badu, so I'm gonna say Erykah Badu.
Favorite place to visit, travel space or place?
So I love the beach, so we go to Coronado probably every year. So it would have to be a toss up between Coronado and Cancun.
Okay. If you saw a recent put down, if somebody was trying to give you slack, but it actually turned out to be a compliment, what did they say?
Wait, ask that again. If somebody
was trying to put you down, but for you kind of took it as a compliment.
Yeah.
What would they say? What do they say?
Yeah, well, that actually just happened. Like I think I kind of mentioned this earlier. You know, I serve on a lot of boards. I was at a board meeting, and one of the ladies came over, and she was like, "The president of NASCAR." I'm like, "No, I'm not the president of NASCAR. I'm president of Phoenix Raceway." And she was like, "That's the craziest thing I've ever heard." I don't know why I thought it was so funny. I was like, "You're right, girl. That is crazy."
That's a good one.
Yeah. Favorite season of the year?
I'm like summer, but not too hot.
I don't even know how that work. How does that work in Arizona?
Bring it.
Okay. Most embarrassing moment of your life, if you can share.
Most embarrassing moment. Oh, let me see. I can't think of one that's like coming to the top of my head, because usually when I get embarrassed, I just kind of laugh it off. I mean, I would say, I'll tell you one that recently happened. So I told you I have two boys, right? So I have a 12-year-old and a 16-year-old. The 12-year-old plays basketball, but he was playing baseball, right? For like a little club team. He's super athletic. And he's playing baseball, but he wanted to retire from baseball and focus only on basketball, which is totally fine. So he has his last game, you know, and this is a true story. I will send you guys a video. He hits the walk-off home run in the game, right? But when that happened, right before it happened, the team walked the kid in front of him because they had 2 outs. So there's 2 outs, right? And then he came up and they were like, he's not gonna hit, but my kid's not gonna hit the ball. So he goes up and he hits the walk-off home run. You guys, I went crazy. Like I went all the way crazy, like I was at like a professional sports team. It was embarrassing because I heard that shit on the video. You know, like Game Changer has like a little camera on there, and I cussed. He's 12. I said all the things that you shouldn't say at a 12-year-old game. That was embarrassing. Because after when he was listening to it, he was like, "Mom," I was like, I don't know what happened.
Proud mom, baby. You can't say. That's my baby. That's my baby.
I did one of those. Now what? You know, like because they walked in front of them. Like, why would I do that?
You are a true sports fan. Yes, that's why you would do that.
Yeah.
My last one. Favorite art mural?
Oh, you guys. Someone painted an art mural of me in downtown Phoenix, so it has to be my favorite. I'm so super grateful of it. So it is in downtown Phoenix, and it just happened with myself, Morgan Cato, who is legit. She is amazing. The only Black female assistant GM in the NBA. So Morgan Cato for the Phoenix Suns. She is also on that mural. And Colette. Colette was the first coach in the NFL, female coach in the NFL. So anyway, it's a dope mural.
Yes, ma'am.
Love
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Stuff. All right, so we're jumping into the winner's circle. This is where we kind of provide you the platform to talk about just some of the dope things that you're doing. And I know we brought it up, but I really want to dig into the significance of the Cup Series, right? Like I think one, we need a lot of things is dope about that, first of all, because it's happening in November. So that's kind of around your 1-year anniversary. So that's just some dope stuff going on. But explain the Cup Series, because like for a lot of us that are not, that either never been to NASCAR, don't understand what that means, right? Like there's a lot of sports, like, well, racing in general, right? There's a series, and golf has like things. So what is the significance of this event?
Yep, absolutely. So the Cup Series means like the top of the top drivers, right? They've worked their way up and they've gotten to the top. Like they are the professional athlete, like they are the NFL, if you will. They are the NBA, like that level. So not necessarily on the minor leagues, if you will. They're the top. And so to be able to host and have the Cup Series championship race in Arizona, this will be year 4 of us having it in Arizona. We just announced that we were going to have it again next year as well. And so it had been in Miami for almost 20 years, and then they moved it here to Arizona. And so it is a big deal for us from an economic standpoint here and the impact that we have on the Valley. But I mean, who wouldn't want to be in Arizona in November? You just asked me about my favorite season. So in November, it is kind of springish because, it's like in the 70s here in Arizona. Our weather is perfect. And so we have almost 100,000 people that come out to experience that over the Cup Series weekend. So we have 2 races on Friday. Usually, typically, we'll have 2 races on Friday that are not Cup Series. It's like the truck drivers, and then you have the next level as well. We'll usually have ARCA on Saturday, and then we have the Sunday is the day. And then that's when we have the Cup Series drivers, and that's championship. That's like the Super Bowl. But we've had it again consistently for the last 4 years. And so it is a big deal for us. And, for Cup Series Sunday, we actually sold out in May. That's how big of a deal it is. But we still have availability for Friday and Saturday. And really, our team does a really great job of making sure you have a holistic experience for the whole weekend here at Championship Weekend. So we're really excited about it. And like you said, that will be my 1 year in November as well. My first championship and year 1.
So for my lack of knowledge, is the weekend kind of build up, is that similar to what you would have like on a Super Bowl weekend?
Yeah, it's similar to what you would have on a Super Bowl weekend, but I would say it's the whole week for us. So we start, so like I said, people come in starting on Monday, but we activate like within the community. The drivers were usually here about midweek. So we'll start to activate, engage, go out into the community with some driver appearances. We have a party that we have at the W in Scottsdale the Thursday night before. It's an industry party. So we really get out there in the community. So yes, it is like a Super Bowl experience, but like for the whole week. And then you have racing. So like for football, you only have the game on Sunday. But here for NASCAR, you're going to have an actual race each of those days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
So what do they have to do to, like, that's all qualifying throughout the year to get to this, right?
Yes. Yep.
And then like, what are they crowned if they win that? Is it like, is that the end? Like they're the champion? Like that's the end of the series for the year, or?
That is it. Yep. That's the end of the season. That is your champion for the season. And so you get the Bill France trophy, and you are the person, right, that you get. Last year was Joey Logano. So if you look up Joey, he was the champion last year here in Arizona. And so, that's what you get. You're the champion and you are crowned. And so our season runs February to November. And so season is over right after championship weekend. And then we roll back. We start back in February.
Nice. And we need to investigate that because we always have a discussion of what's the top trophy in sports. So we're going to have to definitely dig in and check out the trophy.
Yes, you guys follow it around. We're going to be posting it around the Valley here. I'll let you guys know as soon as it starts, starting in a couple weeks.
Okay. And then, I mean, this is any perfect time than any for you to throw out some social handles, right? Because, the Phoenix Raceway has its own handles. But, yeah, throw out some of your way people get in contact with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely want to make sure that you follow Phoenix Raceway out there on Instagram, online, www.phxraceway.com. Then for me, you could also follow me on Phoenix Raceway Prez on my IG account. I've been active. My team has made me be pretty active now. Now I'm having fun. So look, I got me a little microphone. You guys. I'm gonna get serious about it now. So engage with me there. But I'm also very open to networking. So I want people to really reach out if there's anything I can do. If you want to know more about NASCAR, you want to know more about Phoenix Raceway. I'm pretty open to all of those things. So I always tell people, follow me on LinkedIn, keep it professional. If you want to keep it professional on LinkedIn only is the professional route. But again, follow us around. I'll do everything that I can to tell the story of Phoenix Raceway.
Telling the story. Wow. So you the you're the social queen now. That's
I mean, I can't call me that yet. I'm working on it.
So what's one thing that you've learned? I know you've learned a lot of different things, but one thing or two things that you can really grasp that you've really learned in this first year.
Yeah, I will tell you, first and foremost, I have learned that there are a lot of people out there that want you to be successful. I think that, being the first, and you can't, it was talk about the social media queen, you can't read all of the comments, right? Because people hide behind their comments at times. And so they will say not so nice things, even people from your own community. And so I think that there is that, like, you have to know that there's more people supporting you, but also if they're not talking about you, you're not doing something right. So, so I think that that's probably one thing, that there are people out there that really want you to be successful, has been, and then the other piece is just the uniqueness of the business and the great people that are involved. Like I said, I am really glad I slowed down for 5 seconds to give NASCAR a chance, because it has been a really great decision.
Now, do you all have a cohort, or just kind of a touch point to support each other? Like, a lot of times, like you see in organizations, right? Like they have ERGs, right? Like employee resource groups, to get together. Is that available for you guys in NASCAR? Is it a NASCAR level, track level? And then outside of what the company does, is there like a, what do you call it? Just a network that you guys have to support each other? Because there's a lot of stuff that happens showing up for us as us that,
Yes.
there's some just extra need.
Yeah, all the time. So yes, to all of that. We actually have employee resource groups as well, here at NASCAR holistically, things that we just don't necessarily talk about, right? We have each group, each area that you can think of, right? You have the LGBT group, you have the Black, Hispanic, all women in motorsports. There's not that many of us. And so you have all of those groups that we have. We definitely have that as a support system. We also have an executive diversity council, which I am on, which for executive leaders, but also you guys talked a little bit about partners. So our partners are also part of that. So like the Ally Bank, we have Fox and NBC that we partner with from a media standpoint. They're on there. The sports teams are on there. Drivers, there's some drivers that are on there as well. So we have all of that in terms of an executive diversity council as well. And our CEO is on that as well. So again, we have that. But you guys, that it's really the organic thing that we really have, which is us supporting us. And so not a lot of people know, but I mentioned Eric Ryan leads our communication. We have, he is an African-American male. We have John Ferguson, who is Black, he's our chief human resources officer. We have Amanda Oliver as our chief legal officer. She's a Black female. We have Brandon Thompson, who leads diversity, equity, and inclusion for NASCAR as well. So you have a group of executives, and you have a group of executives that are all Black, and we come together. But then there's so many others of us as well. And so, yes, we support each other. We communicate. We talk. I mentioned this just the other day on another podcast when I had my first race. There were a group of Black women that are here that are just so excited that I'm here in the first in this role. And they have been super supportive of me from the beginning. Some of them I work with on a regular basis. Others I just see when I'm out there, sent me flowers on my first race. So right before I started my race, and I am not at all an emotional person, but I am telling you guys, like I was like, okay, wait, like I got to take a second, because these girls went out of their way to think about me and making sure I was good, and wanted to make sure that I was recognized for my first race in March. And so we support each other all the time. And so that's what I'm saying. I don't know that I've gotten that anywhere I've been.
Love it. All right, so we're getting to the finish line. This is what we like to call the assist, right? This is where we ask you to share either a quote, words to live by, or something you would tell your younger self. It could be either one of those, but yeah, just give us a coaching gem.
Yeah, I would say something that I would tell my younger self would be, yeah, you can do whatever you want to do. You can actually do that. I told you guys earlier, I started working at a very young age, really to be able to have fake fingernails. But I will tell you, wanting to do that really led me to the place that I am today from a career perspective, but it also opened up my network. So I have not applied for a job since I went for that opportunity at Charles Schwab when I was 16 years old. And, you know, when people have reached out to me about opportunities and about things, you know, there are times like this time when I was like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. But yes, you can do it. You are doing it and you will do it. So I think that would be the thing that I would tell, you know, my younger self. And I would say, you know, it's okay to be you. That's totally fine. Just be you every day. And so those are the things that I would tell me. I
love it. All right. MH, final thoughts.
Just a random thought. That is an incredible stat. That you haven't applied for a job since that is like the most unbelievable thing I think I've heard. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, you know, I have a, you know, one of the things that people talk about is like building your network. One of the things that I have I've never met a stranger. One of my kids have never met a stranger either. They're just like that. I mean, you could go out there, you could talk to anyone. I mentioned I was in the band, right? I just have a good collection of people in my network. You could be white, black, you could be whatever. I thoroughly enjoy people. And I did a really good job of building my internal network at Charles Schwab, right? Just meeting people. You know, in 2000, you know, when we had 9/11, that was in 2001, when then they started to do layoffs and things like that. And so a lot of people lost their jobs at Charles Schwab, but that means they lost their job there, but they went somewhere else. And that's how I got my next opportunity. Someone reached out to me from my role at Charles Schwab. The person that I actually started working for when I was 16 ended up working for me at another organization until she retired. And so it's just, you know, it's just something that I have prided myself on is building relationships for with no expectation of anything in return, but to build a relationship.
So that means you got to get out from your desk and walk around the office and shake people's hand and ask them how their weekend is doing and really mean it. Like that's yeah.
Yes, you got to get to know people. You know, we can't do high fives now. We got to do dabs or like, you know, what's up? You know, we can't do it as much as we used to. And I used to be a hugger, but I can't do that anymore either, right? Because we don't know. But yeah, I really do genuinely care about people and taking the time to really get to know them. Because honestly, you guys, you just never know. You never know when me taking 5 seconds to say, how was your weekend? And actually standing there listening to you about your weekend could be just the thing you needed that day.
Correct. That's great.
And Mace was taking that as an eternal note.
Yeah. I think I'm pretty genuine. Yeah, I think.
Oh, he's very genuine. He's very genuine. But he has to get up and out because he's very locked in.
Yeah. EJ's the network. Yeah, I'm not as much, but yeah, thank you for that advice. That's great.
Now, you don't have to talk to everybody, but somebody.
Okay, thank you. Cool. Okay.
See?
You don't have to be the extreme, right? But give people a chance.
Awesome.
No,
well, Latasha, this has been absolutely amazing. We thank you. We honor you, Madam President. It's a blessing to be able to say that, you know, so thank you for spending this time. I know you're super busy. You know, hopefully we can definitely check you out. Now that we know that Vegas is a spot for you, we definitely want to see you or, you know, be able to connect with you when you come in town. So just once again, thank you for your time today.
No, thank you guys so much. It has truly been an honor. And I want you guys to come to Arizona to come to a race. So it's right down the street. So you guys have to come in March. I'd love to have you here, but I will definitely let you know when I am there in Vegas.
There you go. Black and Sports live at the Phoenix Raceway.
I mean, that November time sounds kind of good.
I said it was sold out. Where do you want me to put you?
If anybody can get us in, you can. I mean,
hey, listen, what about some media passes?
You could do that, actually. Actually, let's talk about that because you could actually potentially do that.
There it is.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. All right. We're gonna talk more about this offline, but we want to thank you, the people, for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as we enjoyed the show. Please Follow Tasha everywhere. We're going to post all how you can link with her and learn more about NASCAR, learn more about what's going on, and just know, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We say it all the time. Visual representation matters. If you see it, you can be it. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And please remember, stay safe, practice gratitude, and know we're rooting for you.
Screaming, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment until we even.
Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade rags. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap and back.